Someone tell me when it says live. We're live.
We're live.
We're live on Facebook. Yay.
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 Hi, Facebook land. My name is Nick Rothwell from Retribe. Welcome to the What's on at Elephant and Castle live Facebook chat. Today, I've written down the title because Melissa, when she writes down the titles, I can't remember them. So today we're going to discuss resilience in challenging times and the relationship between resistance and wellness to activate positive change and at individual and community levels. And along to talk about that, we've got Taban Shoresh from the Lotus Flower and Hawwa Power, who's a life coach and a wellness educator. First of all, I just cannot thank you guys enough for joining us. How's everybody doing today?
Really, really well. Thank you. Really well.
I'm all right.
Because Mel's over in Toronto. Mel, is everything
in Toronto? I mean, it's winter here, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Canada.
Yeah, it was snowing and all the things. So, but here we are.
My only struggle is that I tried to cut my own hair the other day, and like I'm not going to do it anymore. It was a really bad idea.
Yeah, it looks pretty bad. I'm joking.
Yeah.
Zoom doesn't make us see things properly.
Okay, so on to today's subject. And first of all, Taban and Hawwa, can you guys just give us a little bit of a 2 or 3 minute recap of your story and why we're here? So Taban, do you want to start?
Taban, you start.
So my story isn't just my whole life story. It's very long. I'm going to have to kind of cut it down. I'll try and cut it down and kind of bring in how I got to know Hawwa as well. I'm a child genocide survivor, and I was a child political prisoner at the age of 4. I escaped being buried alive. We spent 12 months fleeing, in hiding. Then we were smuggled into Iran for safety. My father was poisoned, and Amnesty International picked up on that story and flew him to the UK for medical treatment. We had a very, I guess, normal life in the UK. I ended up going to university, doing everything, and ended up working in the city. By the time I was working in the city, I was a single mum. I'm going to rewind back because it's how I got to know Hawwa. I was in a 6.5-year very abusive marriage, and I came out of that very, very broken. And I remember the moment where I started rebuilding my confidence in my life. And one of the things that I did was go to a vocal skills class. By the time that I'd come out of this marriage, I couldn't speak to people. I couldn't look people in the eye. I didn't have any friends because I was forced not to have any friends. I was extremely isolated and very, very scared and fearful, and actually scared that I'd be killed at any moment. But there was a fire in me, and I knew that there was still something there and I could find myself again. And I used to love drama in school. So I found a vocal skills class close to me in the evening, and my mum had agreed to look after my son in the evenings and kind of pushed me and encouraged me to go out there and do it. And as soon as I walked in, I still remember the day that I walked in with my head down, really, really scared and very anxious because there were people there and I didn't know them. And all I heard was, "Siva's mum!" And I looked at a gorgeous woman with a massive smile. And all I could say was, "I'm really sorry, but I don't know you." And it was at that point and that was Hawwa, so Hawwa who's on the line. I'd got to a point where I didn't realize that Siva, my son, had 2 teachers, both of which I'd never really noticed because I'd go into school, drop him off and walk back out. And so I'll let Hawwa tell her side of the story of what she thought. And anyway, so that point was the moment where I decided, right, I'm going to rebuild my life. I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to be talking on stage, let alone talking to people. And Hawwa's 12-week course was phenomenal because what it did was it was drama and vocal skills. But by the end of it, we had to do a monologue. And that just sounded so scary to me because I was going outside of my comfort zone to perform in front of a packed audience. And the monologue was something that I'd written, and it was very personal. So it was comparing the life of a 4-year-old, of my life, to a best friend that I had at the time, Alex. And I came out of that and I won, and I thought, wow, I wasn't expecting that. I'll let Hawwa tell the rest of that story. But anyway, so that was my journey of starting to rebuild my life. And I really, really did proactively. And I ended up working in the city. And even while I was working there, I had a goal in mind. I just wanted to buy my house. I was a single mum, so I had that goal in mind, and I managed to accomplish it. And then once that was over, I was searching for more. My son was older, so I had another plan, which was to do something drastic and step out of my comfort zone. And actually the time had come, and by this point ISIS had gone into Iraq, and I decided to go back and work for a local foundation there. And that was very frontline. Like my first day, we ended up rescuing people, delivering aid, flying over ISIS. And that was after, so for 15 months, it was very, very extreme and frontline. And I came back and I thought, right, well, I can't just leave all the women and girls that I've met out there. What do I do? And I came back to the UK and set up the Lotus Flower in my living room with absolutely no money, 0 connections. I mean, I had a few connections, but a whole lot of passion, and very focused, and knew exactly what I wanted. And the difference is that I'd already seen it and envisioned where it was going to be and what was going to happen. So I worked backwards. Anyway, that was 3 years ago, from my living room with absolutely no money. And now we've grown into an organization with 22 staff members, 20 on the ground, and we're growing. We've got 3 centers and refugee camps, and we support women and girls impacted by conflict and displacement. And we've helped 16,000 women and girls today. So that's my journey today. And the women and girls that we support are all survivors of the ISIS conflict and more recent conflicts as well. So they're severely traumatized. They've been raped, sold on as sex slaves. They've had family members killed in front of them. They've been imprisoned. So they've seen extreme trauma. And we are so privileged to be able to help and facilitate their journey of rebuilding their lives. And the story is just phenomenal.
Wow.
So that's my story in a nutshell. And now I find myself in a pandemic.
Yeah.
There we go.
I've survived the genocide. I've witnessed another one, and we're going to survive a pandemic as well. I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
Hawwa, over to you.
I mean, I never tire of hearing that story. And it was really interesting that you managed to, like, that felt like record time. And I wonder if it was always like, and I hope that even what you were able to take in from that story of that Taban told her story, it really was a nutshell, because the entire thing needs to be heard. So at some point, there needs to be another one of these conversations where Taban gets to tell the entire story in its entirety.
Agreed.
So I will come in from the point of with Taban, and then I'll kind of flip back to myself. So when I first got into teaching, I started at a school. There was a lovely, bright-eyed little boy, cheeky little chappy. And he was quite wonderful, and we would enjoy him. He was one of those kids that you wouldn't forget. And his parents would always come and drop him off. I just assumed that perhaps, English wasn't a first language, and so, or even shyness. Sometimes people don't always want to be set upon in the morning. So, we'd always take him out. Hi, good morning. Just assumed that, Taban was probably shy, but took her in. I took her in. I at least took, her visual in. Anyway, fast forward for me. So I started teaching at a college in the same area. And I think it was probably about 1.5 years later. Was it about 1.5 years, Taban, would you say?
Yeah.
Interesting journey for me. With teaching, I still teach children and adults. My thing is self-expression. I think whether you are introvert or extrovert, expressing yourself is really important. I have a musical background as a singer and songwriter is my first profession. I had a very professional and short commercial music career. One of my dreams, not as fulfilling as I would liked it to have been. And so as life would have it, a bout of circumstantial depression took me down the road of becoming an educator or getting into education. I hated school. So I never imagined I'd be in a school and anyone would be calling me Miss. I think that for me, school, I didn't have anyone at school who I could, you know, feel encouraged by, or, you know, just those teachers just didn't exist at that time for me. And so I wanted to at least become the person that I didn't have. By the time I got to teaching at the college, doing vocal skills, that was part of what I did, bringing the drama into that. Taban comes walking through the door. I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, wow, this is an amazing connection. Siva's mom. So I'm like, hey, oh, hi, nice to meet you, Siva's mom. And genuinely, she was like, it was one of those moments, you know, when someone says that to you and you're like, oh my God, I can't remember you now. Hi. Right. You know, and you're kind of like, oh my God, it's so good. You know, where are you from? And over the period of time, as you know, we shared and she realized who I was and I learned more about her. And I would say that for me, the vocal skills class, what it showed me what I actually was doing is life coaching, because I didn't have people in there who had an issue, any other issues, whether that they were confidence, self-esteem, self-worth. And so the unfolding of that is what led me into life coaching. Mm-hmm. Taban did an excellent job. The production team of the event that we presented the monologues to, everyone had to do a monologue. I'm very much like, okay, if we're doing this, we need to be doing it towards something. Right. And sorry, just put my phone on mute. So when Taban finished, even they were like, we need to make a film out of your life. Like, this is amazing. Like, oh my goodness. We cried, we cheered, we laughed, we hugged each other, we cried. For me, having that moment of seeing that it was more than just vocal skills exercise, it was more than just drama games and exercises, that there were layers being affected here that were deeper. Yeah. And that took me on the journey of becoming a life coach. I was encouraged by my life coach, who happens to be my best friend. She started off as my friend. She shared life coaching with me. She encouraged me to become a life coach. She in fact introduced me to the college that I started working at. And I took over from her as a life coach in the end. That thing of all of us want and need the same things: to be seen, heard, and understood. Sometimes we have our voices taken away from us at a very young age. Some of us, it's in our teenage, some of it's when we become older. And for me, it was giving someone their voice back. Part of life coaching, mental well-being, and all that good stuff, it actually is a physical thing as well. A lot of people make assumptions about, you know, how healthy someone is, or based on how they look. And, you know, you might think, oh, you know, she looks nice and she looks, she must eat well. But maybe the thinking isn't good. So maybe the thought patterns aren't helpful or supportive. So there needed to be a matchup of all of these things. So your mind with your body and your soul, because your soul has a purpose. Taban is living her purpose. I'm living mine. Yeah, I see that you both are living yours because we're here. Mm-hmm. So that is, for me, the work. That's what I do. And so I match up all the different areas and, you know, give a different perspective and hopefully open up people to a healthier way of living. Do I want to say that? Or living their best life? Or finding their brilliantly. Say again?
I was going to say, you do it brilliantly. So Hawwa is the only person in my life that has seen me from this point to where I am now. And so that journey, how I've witnessed, and it is down to you, Hawwa.
It's been a beautiful journey. I humbly appreciate that, and I take that, and it keeps me going for all the other work. I just finished a workshop with a load of teenage girls. I work for a youth charity called LIC. I run 2 weekly workshops. One is a team life coaching session. And we were doing I ams and, sort of looking at how we feel and our thoughts and how that affects how we feel. And on Wednesdays, we do natural product making. So using what's in your fridge and in your cupboard to make yourself beautiful and healthy.
I have something to show you later, because I saw on Instagram that you did with Taban a couple of weeks ago. So I'll show you something later. But also,
cool. Oh, cool. Okay.
So, yeah, it's a bunch of lavender for tea.
Yeah.
So, so with regards to, we've lost Taban's camera. There we go. So basically, with regards to today's title, the word that popped out to me is resilience. And what I'd like to maybe discuss just quickly for both of you is what does resilience mean to you guys, and the difference between resilience and the journey where you guys are now, where you can help people, and then, opposing that to the word of mental toughness. What does resilience mean to you guys?
I think for me, resilience is key, and it's emotional resilience is actually the reason that's got me through everything. I've been through quite a lot of different areas in life, and the one strand that's kept it going is emotional resilience. And I think for me it's been key, but I've had to use tools and find tools on how I can tap into that and stay in that zone. So in that sense, it's been key. I'll let Hawwa go into it as well.
I think that, words, I was going to do a word game with you actually, because we have perceptions about words, don't we? And so, it doesn't matter what the Oxford Dictionary says, it's what we perceive it to be. I would agree. I think there's different types, resilience. There's physical resilience, emotional resilience. I feel that it is being able to withstand, being able to be anchored and grounded and held and tethered by something that is powerful.
Nice.
How do we get it? Where does it come from?
Right. Yeah.
And as Taban said, I think it's definitely having tools. Sorry, Melissa.
No, I was just going to say, even I think the journey of finding the anchor, of finding the things that ground us is part of the whole building up our resiliency, right?
Absolutely.
It's not something that is like this linear, we have to do all these things and we'll get there. It's this constant like flow of building, like Taban said, our tools and like putting it into our toolkit, and like that Beautiful. Kind of, it's the anchoring, it's finding the anchoring. Yeah.
And I'm very much in coaching practice. This is what I always say to my clients is, you've got tools, some are rusty, some might be broken, but you got some tools. So we're gonna fix some, we might get rid of some,
right?
And then we're gonna get some new ones. Now, who doesn't like a shop? So then we're going to shop for some new tools, and the shopping for new tools is very much about finding what works for you.
Exactly.
Now, it might even change throughout the period of your life. Some people are very fixed, so that, you have those people who I always see that same woman, she's always in her like jogging clothes and she's going hard and she's got her music playing and she's consistent at doing that. And that's maybe where she finds her resilience, right. Big on meditating. We're so fortunate because we've got so many different avenues to go down. I mean, for example, we're on lockdown, but I've never been busier myself. You could, because the technology is keeping life alive, right? In a lot of ways. We could be on, you could find a myriad of Zooms, live chats on this, that, and the third, on different subject matters. Find what sits well with you. What sits well with me may not sit well with you. What are those tools? Now, the one tool I can say that definitely should sit well with most of us is the ability to be able to reframe and rephrase. So this morning's session, we have an inner critic and we have an inner coach, all right? The critic is the one when we use the expression like, you know, you just have to get you out of the way, get yourself out the way. That's your inner critic, because your inner critic will say things like, I don't join those groups. I'm not into that stuff. That sounds a bit too flowery. Oh, I could never sit still. Oh, I haven't got the patience. Well, I don't really understand. Nah, that's not me. That's the inner critic has lots of different, that's just a few. That's just a few that I've heard over the years. Right. And then you have your inner coach, which we all have. Everybody has their own inner life coach. Usually the voice has been quiet and dumbed down. We're not listening. I'm too busy ruminating about one past situation that is like so exited a long time ago. Yeah, finding it hard to be in the present moment. Present moment everyone needs. And to learn the language of your inner critic and your inner coach. Yeah? And know when this needs to happen. No, when this conversation needs to happen.
What are you thinking around, sometimes I often, when I talk about the inner critic, although I'm a little harsher in my language, I call it an inner bully or inner asshole, which I'm not allowed sometimes. Like sometimes that seems a bit harsh, but I'm often like asking people to explore whose voice is it really? Because if we really dig deeper, we might know that it's not actually my voice, it's the voice of my dad or my ex or my bully, right?
Yeah. And this is why everyone's loving the word trigger at the moment. I'm triggered. Okay, if you're triggered by something, what I want to know is who put the gun in my hand? Do you know what I mean? Like when someone's, oh, they're pushing my buttons. Well, where did the button come from? That's what I want to know. You know, like, yeah, you might have pushed it, but the button had to be put there in the first place. And whilst I also, there are so many, we are inundated, even now, a couple of my girls were saying, you know, anxiety, hearing all the things that are coming from, you know, we have a somewhat irresponsible world in a sense that, you know, there's no filter for what they are digesting. And so one of the things that came up was insecurity. And I said, listen, let me tell you something now. Older and wiser, I'm 43 years old. I'm old enough to be even your maybe grandma. This society that we live in will pump you with the idea that you are not enough, that something wrong with you, that you need to fix this. And that's both across the board. That's male and female. So you all are in the game now. Since metrosexualism, you all are getting the same feed. And so by that, meaning that you will see images and hear things that you might find upsetting, or that might be telling you something that you internalize. See, that's the choice. And that's the moment where you got to catch it, is when it begins to become internal. When we're kids, when we're young, it's difficult because we are hearing things from maybe people that we love and we trust. And like you said, it might be, you know, my dad always used to say, I'm talkative. Hey, happens to be my job now, pops.
Right.
So, you know, so, but I there were times where I had a lot of anxiety about that. And then an ex-boyfriend said it, and then it was like, oh, bloody hell, maybe I should be shutting up. And I actually just, you know, it took time to get to that place, but I think questioning those things, and it is so much about what you think about yourself. The best line I ever heard in all of my life, I would actually say, was what other people think of you is not your business.
Yeah.
No, it's their business. It's not mine. So once I start internalizing what this person is saying with all of whatever they've got going on and their experiences. Now, like you say, I'm carrying someone else's stuff, and sometimes people are doing that for 50, 60, 70 years.
Yeah. We're all just walking around in our state of fear, sometimes projecting our own fears onto other people to make ourselves feel a little bit easier to walk around with.
We stay doing that. And that's what I tell to my girls, who say, yeah, and then she said this to me and everyone was laughing. And I said, well, just take a moment to think about how bad she must feel about herself, to have to do that to another person, to have a moment of feeling good.
Yeah.
Rapid.
Like the cycle of pain inviting pain and needing that to be our only like comfort zone, because that's all we know, right?
Yeah, and in some Buddhist teachings, they call it Shempa. And in Islam, they call it Iblis. And, you know, I guess in some countries, you know, like people might say misery loves company, but it's a vibe. And see, here again is where you keep yourself protected in all the ways that support you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, in every single way, because it means when you come with that energy, or you want to say anything to me that is not of my own, it won't reach me, because I'll be able to go, boom, that's yours, that's your stuff. Being able to differentiate, and even a lot of life coaching, a lot of clients, a lot of work has been, even work with Taban during those days, was the bit where we set the bag down and then we look in it and we sift and we go, right, okay, that's your stuff. That's the stuff that, you know, your mum said, oh, that's her, how she was feeling. That's that guy. Oh, that's those girls at school. You know, you've literally got to set the bag down and have a look and find out what's yours. Clear the other stuff away that doesn't belong to you. And then once you see what's yours, you can work on that. I can do something about me. I can't do anything about anybody else. Yeah. You know, yes, beg your pardon, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that like a lot of the conversations that we have, you know, everyone's talking about fear. And that, you know, right now, let's look at the Elephant and Castle area. Everybody's sitting in houses or in flats, fearful of getting the coronavirus, fear of losing their jobs, fear of economic insecurities, fear of not having enough toilet paper. And I'm interested, like maybe Taban, could you talk about a journey from say trauma to fear and then out of fear again? And a lot of tools are being talked about, but at what stage from trauma and fear can you start collecting tools and have the resilience to start using them?
So I can give you lots of examples. So I think for me, and it's an extreme, I guess not everyone's experienced this, but for me, I've been so close to death, and I mean like face to face to death, not just nearly being buried alive, but going on that helicopter mission, you know, the helicopter crashed the next day when the pilot told us you could die at any moment, and he died the next day. We've missed bombs. Like there's been so many instances of near-death experiences for me that fear is almost irrelevant in my body, because I've seen the extent of fear. But the way that the tools that I've developed and the way that I managed to step out of it has been, when I survived that, there must be a reason why I've survived it. So I've got to latch on to hoping and knowing that there's a reason why I've survived that until the next thing happens. And then I've survived that. And then the next thing happens. So it's realizing, you're so lucky to be alive and surviving something. And it could be anything, you know, something is, you know, I'm trying to apply it to something here and someone relevant, you know, change an area, a breakup in a relationship, anything that could really, really impact us emotionally. But as soon as you survive it, that is a tool. That is a tool of emotional resilience. And my way of coping with it and coming back is, and so I'm currently writing a book about my life. And the more I look back on things, the more I realize, hold on, I've only just bounced back 10 times stronger because of that really fearful negative experience. And I've managed to step out of that comfort zone because of that really horrible, uncomfortable experience. And I can give you so many stories, but I'll give you the one with Lotus. I went through a really horrible breakup. And as well as going through all the trauma in what was going on in Kurdistan, that breakup made me bounce back. So I went, right, okay, what can I keep busy with now? Right, I'm going to follow my passions. And I set up now, how grateful am I for that really horrible experience? I am unbelievably grateful, because that horrible experience forced me to step out of my comfort zone and actually start building the tools that I needed for the next chapter in my life. And so now the way that I deal with fear is I welcome it. I did this talk called Embracing the Great Unknown, and I really do embrace the great unknown. I trust the process. I trust that I'll be safe. If I am taking risk, then I will always take calculated risks. So I will kind of go, okay, am I going to die here? Maybe not. Okay, let's do it. And then I just persevere. I know that things take time and I need to be patient, and it's going to be uncomfortable. I've seen the extreme of uncomfortableness. So
Right.
anything that I experience now that's uncomfortable is a walk in the park. So I kind of go at it and go, well, you're not going to die. You've got through this before, so you'll be fine. You're just going to have to confront it till the end. And so I love that feeling of fear, and I embrace it and I welcome it and I sit down with it and I feel it and meditate with it. And then I step into the comfort, outside the comfort zone, because that's where my growth has been. That's where I've grown unbelievably. And that's where I trust I will grow forever. And then I prepare myself for any obstacles. I just know that life is going to throw you obstacles. It's going to throw really uncomfortable emotions. But I also know that the one person that's going to get myself out of it is me. So I have to make sure that I'm in a position that's open enough to be able to take myself out of it. And actually, one thing that I do notice, a lot of people, especially in the UK, they don't delve into personal development or personal growth because they see it as something flowery, or it's more hippie-like, it's too new age, I can't go there. Whereas actually, I'd say you should be embracing it. These are the tools to help you grow. These are the tools. The more you go inwards is where you're actually going to grow. I don't know if that's answered your question, but that was quite a long way of...
No, it's just great.
To echo on what Taban was saying there, and also, as you said, sort of fear, that it's the hero's journey, isn't it? It's the process. This is life. And I tuned into a bit of Eckhart Tolle the other day. If you don't know who he is, anybody out there, please do go and have a listen, if not just alone, because his voice sounds like everything's going to be all right. He was talking, that I can't remember whose quote it was, that life is hard and full of challenges, and that once we accept and digest that, actually gets a bit easier. Everything is subject to perception. And our thoughts run away with us. I mean, literally, you haven't had a chance to put your trousers on before it's dragging you down the street.
Right.
Now your ass is out. Yeah. And by that meaning that one thing, like even being in this situation, there are some elements of it. It's like, it's happening to us. We usually hear this stuff on the news. Do you know what I mean? Happening to someone else. It's right here, right direct, and it's everywhere. There's people who I had on the phone, clients who they were in despair, so worried and terrified about some very simplistic things. And the first thing I said to them is, love, this isn't happening on your street, in your family, on your postal code. This is happening in the world. Right. So there's even the Jawa people over on that island must know something's going down, because nobody's trying to get over there. It's like, we have been given an opportunity here within all of the hysteria, the fear, the uncertainty, to be able to just find a moment of stillness. Some people haven't been still for a long time. So even that's your challenge. Some people haven't been with the people who they live with for that amount of time. That's a challenge. Yeah. Some people haven't cooked and been in their cupboards for ages. I've heard people saying, listen, I don't even know. I had things from 1980 something. They were growing. Right. Like even from the wildest of things to the simplest of things, just to take a moment, give yourself, even if you have 12 hours in the day, 9 o'clock you wake up, 9 o'clock you go to bed, give yourself an hour in the day where you just go freestyle. I could sit here and just look at that tree for an hour at this window. I'm not going to ruminate. I'm not going to overthink. I'm not going to worry, or do it the other way around. I'm going to give myself an hour of the day, and I'm going to go, Lord, oh my God, fret, worry, fret. When that hour's done, you're done the worrying. Do it whichever way round that suits you. And then in that, you'll see, do I want to be worried for an hour and then have the rest of my day roll out with gratitude and with the openness to whatever comes, and then being able to deal with whatever arises? Or shall I worry for the entire day and then give myself an hour of peace?
Mm-hmm.
You know, one thing that is our choice is how we choose to feel about what is happening. There are some things like grief that are going to be difficult for all of us. Trauma, life trauma experiences. Why is it that one person, we have a podcast that we're working on called That's Something Within. Why is it that one person is able to find the tools, perseverance? Is it that we do need each other? Can we do it on our own? No. I needed Taban as much as Taban needed me.
Right.
You know, my neighbors, showing each other that we are all having the same experience. I'm an oversharer. I think it's important. You tell me your business. If I think it's going to help someone else, I'm going to tell them. Right. Because we are all here, and literally again, the silver lining in this is, oh, everybody's realized we're all in the same boat finally, have they? Oh, yeah. We're all in the same boat, and we really are now. Like literally, I'm sitting next to you, she's sitting next to you, and I'm sitting next to her. We're in the same boat. We all have the same worries and anxieties. We all just want to be well and be joyous and happy and taken care of with the basic things that we need. But the one thing that we can do for ourselves, if you take nothing away from today, is be kind to yourself, be good to yourself. If you can't be good and be kind to yourself, well, where are we? Right. It starts here. It starts here. And it's hard. I just had a bunch of girls who found it really hard to say some I am nice things about themselves.
Mm-hmm. I think this is where the key of both you and Taban have mentioned the power of being witnessed, and how sometimes it's hard for us to maybe be kind to ourselves. But if we allow ourselves to be witnessed in kindness from somebody, from a beloved, from our best girl, from our friend, from our business partner, whoever, then that allows us to kind of start maybe changing the narrative. Like, well, maybe I'm not loving myself right now. I'm finding it really difficult to love. But if my girl loves me, even when I'm at my messy bits and not really kind or pretty, then wait a second, I can be still loved? Like, what? Yeah. And it changes the game, right, a bit?
Beautiful. That's exactly it. So I used to get, I'm a loser, you know, like I'm not doing anything. I do, you know, just that my critic would just be like, you're a loser. And I think we all have had those moments, right? Yeah. And I when it would happen, it would just be a duvet day. And then I started to question, or I shared it with someone. And they were like, what are you talking about your loser? And just reeled off a train a load of things as to why I'm not, and how, and X, Y, and Z. And so then I took the phrase that, well, if I'm a loser, how's Taban my mate? How's Shirley my friend? How's Marianne? How's Adele? Right. How's, you know, or how are all these people who I think are fantastic and amazing and awesome and wonderful? They can't all be crazy. And even if for some people they might not have those people in their lives, because lest we forget that sometimes there aren't those people in our lives just yet. They haven't arrived. They're on their way. Or maybe we are that person. Maybe we are that person. Deeply believe in cheerleading yourself. How do we get there? You can't get anything good out of yourself by being mean to yourself. It doesn't work. Hard love just doesn't work as much as good loving. Good loving goes a long way, you know?
Yeah, I think I've said this before, is like tender might be the new tough. So why don't we like use that narrative, right? Because I was somebody who also was like, I needed to be a certain way and rock solid to not, to protect myself. And I think this is the beauty of this conversation and speaking with both of you is sometimes our survival has got us so far, but then is not of service anymore to us softening and kind of cultivating this space of tenderness and sisterhood, because we're just meant to, right? So it's really like breaking down those, or like dancing around the edges, but in a really like softer kind of way. So I wonder if you both can speak to, I guess I have like 1,000 questions for both of you, but maybe a bit of who you call into your room, into your spirit space, into your heart, when you're feeling like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And I know we've talked about the internal kind of bounce back that you both seem very anchored and grounded in. But is there anybody else, alive or not, that you call in to be your little allies?
I wanted to quickly add on to what Hal was saying earlier.
We'll definitely answer that one though.
Yeah.
We
go
will.
over however you want to go. This is just my own curiosity.
Beautiful.
That ties into that as well. I think you touched on something really, really important, which is not everyone has those people around them. There's a large number of people that don't actually have people around them, and they are lonely. You know, the issue of loneliness, especially in the UK, is massive. And actually, it reminds me of that moment in my marriage where I didn't have anyone. I was, you know, he was a complete psychopath, and I was forced to not have any friends. So I didn't have any friends around me for 6.5 years, and I had to lose contact. And actually being forced to lose contact with your friends is one of the hardest things that you can do, because you can't explain to them what's going on, but you just have to cut ties. You're forced to cut those ties. And so those 6.5 years, I was extremely lonely, and I couldn't reach out to anyone. I could not reach out to anyone. And I think if anyone is listening to this and they are at that point where they are feeling that lonely, all I can say to you is, I promise you, your tribe will turn up. Yeah. I built my circle of friends in the last 15 years. I literally rebuilt it and handpicked who I wanted in my circle, in my tribe. And it was a combination of reconnecting with old friends, bringing them back, and then along the way, the universe just brought me people that I needed in my life, and they've all stuck around. They're still around me to this day. So I just wanted to highlight that. But then going on to your question, there's 100%. I think for me, it's really, really important to have you don't have to have a ton of friends. It's just a few close ones that you can really pick up the phone to and go, I'm in a bad place.
Family members who you're friends with.
Hawwa is one of my friends, 100%. So I'm very lucky to have that. I've got a few people that I can just literally pick up the phone and just, no judgment, we just talk. And also through that, my spiritual journey has really, really grown. Now you can have any faith in any belief. You can have a God. It can be anything, as long as it's personal to you and what you believe in. So my spiritual journey has 100% helped me in my growth, I'd say, in the last couple of years, to the point where I don't actually worry the way that I used to. I just give it to the universe and I trust it. And if it's meant to be for me, then it will come back to me and it will stay with me. And that's how I deal with it. So there's definitely an outside power, a divine outside power, and also your close group of friends. Your family's amazing, and I think families are great. I think there's just something special about having a close group of friends where you can just call upon. So I definitely have, and it's definitely helped me. I've been in a position where I've had neither, and it feels like you're a prisoner in your own body. That's the only way that I can describe it, because you can't verbalize, you can't talk all your emotions. And actually at that time, it's so strange when they say we hold emotions in our throat. I actually developed a physical lump, not an emotional lump, on my throat. Nothing to do with my thyroid, completely fine in that area, but it was a benign lump that had developed. And I am 200% convinced that it was all the emotions that I'd stuck in and couldn't verbalize and express. So I would say it's key to have some sort of belief, faith, or in something greater. And also having those key people around you. I mean, those key people around me have saved my life. And, you know, it's crucial. It's absolutely crucial.
Yeah, that we don't have to do it alone. Sorry, go on.
No, that we don't. And it answers your question, even to go back to that just ever so tiptoe to come forward. I too have been in that position. It's interesting when you're in that position from a point of success. I was doing very well in my music career, and the friends that I'd had from school and college days, they weren't authentic friendships, so they fell away. So I had about 3 or 4 years of not having any friends or having one friend. I learned about family, that you can also find friends within your family, people who my bestest everything sister friend is my cousin Maimuna, and she would be my friend if not even my family. So even being able to find and seek that within, because you know family can be tricky, just everybody family have problems. So you know, but you might be able to find someone who suits you, who's part of your tribe, and she's my tribe. And even in that time, you know, I that level of loneliness, and especially at that age, I was in my mid-20s, and I you know, even simple things like I vowed never to have my birthday with anyone, and so I decided I'm gonna have my birthday with anyone, any friends, but I'm gonna treat myself every birthday. So I would take myself to a spa. I go on my own. I started eating out on my own. So I grew my confidence and I grew my self-love. And I am absolutely, I have bestest friends. Taban is one right here, but I am an exquisite best friend to myself. I really am.
Right.
And I think developing that, like, I'm treating me. I know exactly how I like stuff. I know exactly what's going to comfort me, what's going to make me feel good. So who better else to like treat and get to know? Like my best friend is me. I've sent cards to myself, gifts. Obviously, you know, that's shopping online, but you know what I mean. Just really loving on you. We do need others for that, but we can I mean, goodness me, it's the love of a lifetime you can have with yourself. Yeah.
It's the most committed relationship you're ever going to be in.
I could high five you right now. It's the most, and even that, I just need to say, even when I thought to myself about, you know, commitment and meeting someone who wants to commit, and then I thought, oh, how committed are you to yourself?
You're right.
How committed are you showing up? How much commitment are you giving to you? So again, that thing of how you want to be loved and other people will learn how you want to be loved is how you're loving yourself.
Absolutely. So, I think it's such an important, oh, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Now I was going to answer your question. You said 1,000 questions, you know, we got 1,000 answers. Sorry, carry on.
I know, and I could feel Nick be like, the time is running, ladies. What are you doing?
Can I just say when you said your crew, so 2 things. So in my culture, I'm Fulani, I'm West African, and I'm named after my great-grandmother. So I call her, because we believe whoever you're named after, why everybody have the same name, you carry some of that with that person, and when someone dies, that spirit is divine, so you will inherit all of that divinity. So that's my number one call on. I've got a picture of my grandma right here looking at me now when she was a gal. I call on guides, soul family, spirit team, the cats, whatever I can. As Maya Angelou said, I will call in whoever has complimented me, made me feel good, said something nice, is rooting, cheering for me. Whenever I go anywhere, anything I'm going to do, I take all of that with me.
Absolutely.
Nick, you can't. That's it.
Do you know what? I just could listen to you guys all day. So I think it's absolutely amazing. But I'll just kind of, as we were coming to, like, let's go till for another 5 or 10 minutes. But you know, I remember when Melissa said the term to me, "Tender is the new tough," and it was because it was coming from this idea of what a real man's got to be.
Yeah.
And I think if there's guys out there listening to this right now, where, you know, we are in a place now and where the whole world is at a starting point of a crisis, rather than, oh, you've been through this or you've been through that. Now we can all check each other and go, right, it's day one now. And we've got the common problem. The common solution is going to be tenderness and kindness and loyalty and trust. And these are the things that we can kind of bring into each other and hold each other accountable to. You know, I love the fact that you guys use the word tribe, because that's the name of our business. You know, and the whole idea of that we've always been tribal, and this is a perfect opportunity to go back to our base instincts of belonging, and then feeling like we're part of something rather than separate.
Part of something.
Yeah, and identity not having to be something that's like the I, but what about making it a collective I? So I can't exist without relation to you all, right? Because it's not just, it's the I in terms of the work I do for myself to make sure I can show up fully for you and fully in love to hold your hand and let's guide each other along. Because I think, you know, all we can do is sit in the passenger seat while the other person drives and like, I don't know where you're going, but here I am. So let's go.
And be willing to even the vulnerability. I think for a lot of people, I posted today, and you know, I was thinking about when someone says like, I love you, or I like you, or you know, I really care about you. You know, sometimes you can feel nervous about saying it, or the other person, you can almost feel they're kind of like, me? Little, you know, nervousness about receiving it. And it's like, we should be able to say that. Let's get used to saying it, receiving in it, bathing in it. You know, even if we're not hearing it back, sometimes if the person is unable to say it back, I decided to think, because they're just digesting it and downloading it. You know, maybe it's just going to take them a minute because they've been tough. So, you know, that kind of tenderness is going to take a little bit longer to get through the sieve.
So one of the things I've heard from, sorry, just to say, and then we'll get your, is somebody told me once that like changed my frame of my expectations, was that people can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. So with that, it's like, I'm going to go around telling everybody I love them because I'm okay with loving myself and not having an expectation of return for that love. But if I'm telling somebody who's never heard the words before, then it's like you said in the beginning, it's not my business how they're going to receive it. It's my business to be authentic to myself, right?
Yes, absolutely. And it's tricky because, you know, I mean, these Western world societies that we live in, coming back to, you know, people in their houses and being lonely. When I was in West Africa, there's so many people sharing one house. There's no room for loneliness there. You haven't got time to be ruminating in your own thoughts. You've got to get out the bathroom. Whereas here I'm luxuriating in my bath, but then yet there are people with wonderful surroundings, opulence, gorgeousness, and they're lonely. So is it that we're not being vulnerable enough? So, you know, in terms of, as you said, you know, there's people in their homes in Tobruk's, and every time I live near the marshes, I'm basically in like the fields. Every time I step out and I take those steps and that breath of fresh air and that sun shining on my face, I think of those people, and I think that I can this collective consciousness, the oneness and everything we spoke about that we have is like a wonderful savings account. It's like the best ISA with the highest return. You can either add into that, you know, all the fear and the negativity, and that is going to be validly added because there are some people who are having that experience. And there are those of us who have no business today feeling grumpy or this, that, about whatever, who need to pay in extra. Let your cup run over so you can fill up the cup of others. And if we all keep doing that, because none of us are up and down, we're up and down. So I might be up, Taban's down, Taban might be up, and I'm down. If she can fill my cup up, then Nick can fill your cup up, and then we're just filling cups. So anytime your cup empty, homie, let me fill up your cup. Your cup empty, let me fill up your cup. So we have that interchange going on through vulnerability and openness and authenticity.
Yes.
Melissa, do you have any more questions? I know we've got tons.
No, I was just going to give it out to Taban if there's any final words.
Take us home, Taban.
I was going to add to the tender to tough thing. So I've kind of gone through the past and how it happened and how I've had to rebuild myself. But I actually ended up rebuilding myself, and especially getting divorced at the time that I got divorced was a massive taboo in our culture. And my dad was a cultural minister at the time. So for our family, it was a big thing. So from that moment, I decided to be really strong. And I had to prove to be really strong and just be really independent and really strong. And I played that part really well. And I built my life up. And I played it so well that I actually didn't want to ask anyone for help. I wouldn't ask anyone for help. I wouldn't reach out to family members. I wouldn't reach out to friends in the fear of looking weak. But actually, I realized that you have to soften, you have to let people in, you have to ask for help. And it's okay to ask for help. And actually, the only way you're going to get to as far as you need to get to in your life purpose and out of any situation is if you do ask for help and reach out to people. I think that as an ending, and I guess that's why you need your community, your tribe around. And that's one thing that I've learned to do, but it's one of the most, I think, crucial lessons that I've learned.
Is asking for help.
Asking for help.
So
knowing you don't have to do it alone. Your pain can be a collective pain.
So and we can hold that space. We can hold that space.
We just opened up.
I mean,
absolutely.
So Taban, your tip to everybody out there could be ask for help if you need it, and then what kind of final thing could you leave people who might be listening right now? Apart from, I know the tea thing is a big thing. And
so listen, even with that, I want to touch that quickly. Look at what you have in your cupboards to even bring a bit of brightness to your day. If you've got rosemary in there and you've got rosemary sprigs for your roasting, or you've got rosemary in the garden, it might look tired. Get it out, dry it, and drink it. It's really good for your circulation. It's really good for your immune system. Lavender. Did you see that lavender? It smells great. It's so good for you, and it's so good for calming your nervous system. It can be a bit spiky for some people, but for most, it's a chill pill. Even if you just have it around so you can smell it. Find ways to bring a little lightness, a little tenderness to your day. Get that sugar out the cupboard, put a bit of oil in it, and do a sugar scrub for your hands. You know, your hands will be like, especially with all this washing, your hands will be renewed. Right? So just take good care of you. Speak nice words to yourself. Speak kindness. Be loving.
Can people find you online anywhere if they want to reach out?
You can find me on Hawwa.Power on Instagram or on Twitter. I have Zoom meditations every morning, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. At 8:30 to 9 o'clock. This week we are looking at grounding, which has been very nourishing and for stability and feeling safe. We're looking at intentions, and we always have a wisdom card. I'm sorry, nothing is complete without them. So Melissa, Nick, you both got to pick a card real quick, and that will be the final words here. Okay. Well, I'm not telling you it.
Well, Taban, do you want to let people know how they can find you before we pick our wisdom cards?
You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at Taban Shoresh. And if you want to check out our charity, it's thelotusflower.org.
I should have turned around and showed the back of my t-shirt. It's on there, but it's too fiddly. And love who you are.
Yes.
Check that out.
That's a t-shirt.
So, okay, so Melissa, when you're ready, say stop, please.
Okay. Stop, please.
Self-esteem. That's something you can build for yourself. Self-esteem. Self-esteem. It's got self in it. Nick.
Okay, thank you.
Not for yourself. This is for all of ourselves. This is something we are reminding. These wisdom cards, all they are doing is letting us know what wants to come to the forefront. Self-esteem wants to be in the forefront. Nick, what you got?
Stop, please.
Ooh. Release. I love release. I feel like it's such good permission. If you're holding in tears, if you're holding on to ideas and thoughts that are not serving you, release them. Release them. Beautiful, people. Go on, Taban. I know you're itching.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh, are we going to do a card for Taban?
Come on.
Do you want one, Taban?
Okay.
Why not?
Oh, I did it. Please stop.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, I think I had my finger on the same one. Beautiful. Grace. Grace. Grace is out there.
Cool.
Find the Grace.
Thank you so much for joining us at the What's on at Elephant and Castle Facebook Live page. Please, everybody out there, join us on Tuesday at 2 p.m. where Melissa will be facilitating a workshop that will be kind of topical on what we've discussed today. So thank you everybody so much for joining us. And ladies, again, thank you.
We'll
have you on again.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we need like a whole series of this.
Yeah,
Thank
like
you
hit
so
me
much.
up, Melissa.
I will.
we will schedule just a general chat, but thank you so much, and much love to everyone out there.
Bye, everybody.
Love you all. Thank you.
Love y'all.
Bye.
Bye, darling.
Bye.
Thank you.